Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and I am still crocheting the same sweater that I was crocheting in my last video for my mom because I simply did not have time to crochet during the week. I was really busy with work and unfortunately did not do anything productive, but I am gonna be doing the random comment shortly after this video to find out who won the bee and mushrooms. So look out for that on Instagram. By the time this video will come out, it will be known already, and I will be posting it on Instagram or somewhere in a story probably. I will do that because this video will probably come out in a few days only after today. And I will be sending people the bee and the mushrooms. So you either get a bee or 2 mushrooms. It will be no return address, so you will just receive a no return address package if you want to provide your address to me, and this is how I will be sending it to you, so it's safe for me because I don't want to provide my actual address. Never actually sent out anything without a return address, so that will be interesting for sure. I'm hoping that everything will work out and the giveaway gifts will be received. So today's story, I'm not sure if it's well known. I've actually never heard of this story before, but how I found it is when I was looking on YouTube. I was looking up some disturbing 911 calls. Don't know how I got to this section of YouTube, but I was listening to crazy and unbelievable 911 calls, and this was one of the 911 calls that came up. That was in the video that I watched. I don't remember where, but some channel on YouTube, and I thought it was such an interesting story, so I started wanting to research more about this story, and this is how we ended up here. On October 23rd, 1989, Charles Stuart, who was a manager at an upscale Gagas Furs store on Newbury Street in Boston, Massachusetts, was coming back from a childbirthing class that was held in a women's hospital. He was coming back with his wife, 30-year-old Carol Stuart. Carol was 7 months pregnant at this time. Not too long after they came out of this class, there was a disturbing 911 call that was made by Charles. This was made about 2 or 3 minutes after they came out of this class. And in this call, Charles Stuart states that he has been shot in his stomach by an unknown black male, and his wife has been shot in the head by the same person. He told police that he is disoriented and where he is, but he does say that what happened was that they were standing on a red light and a black male broke into their car and attacked them. Charles was really disoriented and he couldn't really breathe because he was shot in his stomach. But over the period of 13 minutes, he was able to finally explain to police that he was on Tremont Street and he actually tried driving the car before pulling over on the side of the road on Tremont Street and passing out in a car. And you can actually hear the dispatch on the phone if you listen to the 911 call, and the dispatch is calling out his name, Charles's name, and telling him to stay on the phone. The police will be there shortly, but Charles is already passed out and he doesn't respond. So police eventually found Charles and Carol in the car on Tremont Street, and there was actually a show with them that was unseen while Carol and Charles were being rescued from the car, and the show is called Rescue 911, and they were able to film everything that was happening, the rescue of Charles and Carol that day. And this video can also be found online if anyone is interested to watch this video. Carol was taken back to the Brigham and Women's Hospital, in which she just had a birthing class less than an hour before that. So she was taken back to this hospital, and unfortunately, Carol died within hours of being taken to the hospital, and her baby was taken out via C-section. However, the baby unfortunately ended up dying after 17 days because of a respiratory failure. Charles also was taken to the hospital, and he underwent a surgery on his abdomen. Fortunately, he did survive. Because it was televised on Rescue 911 show, this was a very shocking case for Boston, and many people knew about this case. It was on the news. The funeral for Carol Stuart was attended by 800 people that didn't really know her personally, but wanted to pay their respects as well, including the mayor of Boston, the governor, and the chief of police. Charles was still recovering from his injury, and so he was unable to attend the funeral. But his two brothers, Matthew and Michael, they attended, and they were actually the pallbearers of Carol's coffin. eulogy that he wanted to be read at Carol's funeral, and it read, and I quote, "My life will be more empty without you, as will the lives of your family and friends. You have brought joy and kindness to every life you've touched. Now sleep away from me. I will never again know the feeling of your hand in mine, and I will always feel you. I miss you, and I love you." Charles described the attacker to be a black male, as I mentioned earlier. He said he's about 6 feet tall and he's mid-30s in age. He also said that he was wearing a black tracksuit with a red stripe. He said he jumped in a car while they were standing in a red light, and he pointed a gun at Carol and asked if she has money, and he took her purse as well. He ordered them to drive to a nearby Mission Hill. And then when they got there, he started saying that Charles is a cop, and this is the reason why he opened fire. He first shot Carol in the head and then shot Charles in the abdomen and ran off. At this time, Boston had a policy to stop and frisk, which allowed police to legally detain anyone when they had a reasonable suspicion, and this unfortunately led to excuses to stop and harass random black males that lived in Boston at that time. Over a period of 4 days, over 100 homes were searched, and these homes were all black families that lived in this area. Teenagers were interrogated and often leaned on hard, and often with threats that they will be punished if they don't say anything. And the black males even were forced to drop their pants and underwear on the streets just walking by, because they looked suspicious, because this description that Charles gave, which was so generic. And unfortunately, because of stop and frisk policy, nothing the police were doing was technically illegal, so they were able to get away with that. So a few weeks later, after they searched so many homes, police finally came upon a suspect that they believed was the person who committed this crime. And this guy's name was Willie Bennett. And he matched the description of the man who Charles described to be 6 foot tall. And nothing else really, but there was a description of him being 6 foot tall with a raspy voice. So Willie Bennett was arrested, and shortly after his arrest, on January 3rd, 1990, there was a shocking twist to the whole case. Charles's brother came to the police department for $10,000. And I actually researched how much that would be in nowadays, because it's different. In 1990, $10,000 would be worth $23,000 nowadays, so it's a lot more than you would think. Charles asked Matthew to meet him at a planned location, at which he will stop after going to the birthing class with his wife. Charles said that he wanted to do an insurance fraud. So, allegedly, Matthew had no idea that he was gonna murder his wife. When Matthew arrived to the location, he saw that both Charles and Carol were shot. Charles told him that it was to make it look like a carjacking. Charles tossed Matthew a purse, Carol's purse, that contained the couple's wedding rings, the gun that was used to shoot, and jewelry as well. So Matthew took all of it and threw it out in a nearby river. So now the truth was out. It was actually Charles who apparently shot his wife, according to Matthew. Charles premeditated his wife's murder, so he shot himself in the abdomen, and he shot his wife in the head to make it look like there was an attacker. And he even paid his brother to get involved in this and to get rid of the evidence. And because Charles and Carol were from such a nice and privileged families, police didn't even think that Charles could have been lying. And they believed every single word he said to them about the blackmail getting in their car, which is so scary when you think about it, that he was able to get away with that until his brother came out and confessed. Turned out that the real reason why it took Charles 13 minutes to explain to police the location of the vehicle is because he was waiting for Carol to die, and he didn't want her to be saved. So probably he wasn't even blanking out like he was saying in the 911 call, and we're not sure if he was even unconscious when police arrived, when emergency arrived and took him to the hospital, because his injuries weren't fatal. Police noticed that right away. Matthew said he decided to come forward and tell the truth after he found out that an innocent person was arrested. Willie Bennett, for a crime that he did not do. Charles, meanwhile, cashed out on his wife's life insurance policy, on which he was named as a beneficiary. He was able to cash out $83,000. And as I was researching this case, for some reason it mentioned that he bought himself $950 clock with this money, which I'm not sure how that is relevant, and it's not even that much money considering how much he cashed Maxima was found abandoned on a Tobin bridge, along with a note inside, which stated that his life has been a battle for the past 4 months since his wife died. He stated that this new accusation from his brother has sapped him of his strength and has beaten him. The next day after the abandoned car was found, the body of Charles was also found in a river underneath the bridge. It was called Mystic River. Police found that Charles actually took out several life insurance policies from Carol's life insurance shortly before her death. So I'm not actually sure how life insurance works, so I don't know how he was able to take out money before the person is dead. And actually, he was also found buying jewelry for a mistress of his. That was never confirmed, but people have seen them together. But when police confronted the mistress, she denied any involvement with him. So nobody really knows. Also, it was revealed that Charles asked his other brother, whose name was Michael, to help kill his wife. However, Michael at the time did not take his brother seriously, of course. And another person whose name was David McLean, who was a friend of Charles, said that he had a conversation with him prior to the murder. About a month before that, Charles went out to eat with David, and he told him that he didn't like how his wife had the upper hand in their marriage. Charles seemed to be upset at the prospect of becoming a father, and he was actually asking Carol to do an abortion, and he did not like that she refused to do an abortion. He was also worried that once they have this baby, Carol, who was making a lot more money than Charles, would not go back to work and would be a stay-at-home mom, and this will prevent them from having a lot of money, and their financial status would be diminished. David McLean also said that Charles asked him to kill his wife, or to help to get rid of evidence. He also dreamed of owning an upscale Newbury Street, which was an upscale street in Boston, or it still is. I've never been to Boston, so I wouldn't know, but according to my research, it is. He dreamed of owning an upscale restaurant on this street. So it seems that Charles was an arrogant man. He killed his wife just because he didn't want to be burdened with a child, and he wanted to have more money. Also, looking back at the investigation of police in this case, police blindly believed Charles's story just because he was from this prestigious family and because he was coherent when the EMT arrived on the night of the incident. also the fact that Charles didn't have a big description of this black male that supposedly got in their car, which we know now that it wasn't true. But knowing how close he was to his face, all he had for a description of this man was that he's 6 feet tall and the color of his tracksuit. That's really weird. In 1991, Matthew, the brother of Charles, was indicted for obstruction of justice and insurance fraud for his role in covering up the crime. An associate of Matthews, John McMahon, was also indicted for covering up the crime, though I could not find any information about this John guy, how he was involved in the case. He probably was helping out Matthew. Matthew pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison. He was eventually released on parole in 1997. However, not too long after that, he was arrested again and taken to prison because he was drug trafficking. On September 3rd, 2011, Matthew was found dead in a homeless shelter. Unfortunately, it seemed that he died of a lethal overdose of cocaine and alcohol mixture. Carol's family actually established a foundation on January 25th, 1990. So very shortly after Carol's death. And the foundation was called the Carol Stuart Foundation. The goal of this foundation was to assist young people from Mission Hill area with scholarship for college. This was one of the neighborhoods where black males were unfortunately harassed by police and were subject to heavy-handed tactics. There was also a movie that was created shortly after the incident. I think it came out on the national television